Back in 06.
Yeah, that was my signal.
0506.
We're live.
Is my man spreading on you?
Welcome to City Council meeting for October, work session. Hard to believe this is the 10th meeting of the year. The year's almost shot. Up for the work session is residential parking permits and issuance of decals. So that would be Mr. Glass and Ms. Gerling. You gonna help him out?
Sure. And
I don't know that he gonna need any
do
help.
you mind if I just jump in?
Please
Start
do.
it?
I'm gonna ask you to say anything.
We brought this to you guys last month, at Jared's recommendation, just to clarify some of our parking decal application procedures. We wanted to formally require people to show their vehicle registration as proof of ownership. Our ordinance says currently that it has to be a resident's personal vehicle. So we wanted to formally require a registration. And then we wanted to add the vehicle registration as one of the types of proof of ownership for the vehicle, for residents. And then we wanted people to have to pay their tickets. So once we got into that, City Council, several of you guys had other ideas about different parts of the parking ordinance, and we kind of got away from the registration part of it. So tonight, we just wanted to hear all the ideas for the other parking changes you guys might want to include in this ordinance, and also your ideas on requiring the registration as proof of ownership and allowing it as a proof of residency. So we're here.
Crickets.
Okay, well, I have a question. On D, the part-time resident, would he have to show a similar thing of a automobile of where he resides to get his one decal?
No, they have to show ownership.
We have been requiring them to show a registration as well. Obviously, it could be from anywhere.
Right, wouldn't have to be from here, is what I'm saying.
That's not part of their, that's not part of their.
Okay.
No, but they do have to show it. It just doesn't have to be South Carolina.
Okay, it just didn't pull that up in
But
here.
that is something that I had an issue, a potential issue with is we're going to require them to show a South Carolina registration.
Oh, on the red,
That's
the
not
new
gonna work
part.
for the.
No, it won't work for them, because, unless they're from South Carolina.
Yeah, but, we have a handful, a good amount.
But that's separated between residential and part-time residents, is that correct?
It should be.
From my understanding, but I just wanna make sure we're clear on it, because.
Well, the part-time folks too are gonna have to provide, they said a sworn statement that they don't rent their unit, plus you go back and double check them, make sure that they don't have a business license for rentals. If they do, then they're gonna lose their part-time ticket.
Correct, okay, I just wanna make sure we're clear on that.
So the other thing we spent, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
So the other thing we spent a lot of time on was if somebody was a 90-day resident, that they would be eligible for a residence sticker. Is that right?
Well, so I think what we wanted there was if they're a full-time resident, but they don't have any proofs saying like they rent, they could be a long-term renter. So they show a lease. Where it stands now, it has to have at least 30 days remaining on that lease. If you guys want to change it to 90, I think that's where that came in.
Okay. So if somebody came and they're going to stay the winter, they're going to stay November, December, and January, would that person on November 1st qualify for a residence sticker the way it's
As it
written down?
stands right now, no.
Okay.
But if you guys want to add that,
No,
90 days,
I don't want to.
Okay. Because they would have to. Well, I mean, unless they show like I don't know that anybody does a 3-month lease around here. Maybe they do an Airbnb for 3 months, but then they wouldn't qualify because they wouldn't have any proofs. But I mean, if we're going to do a lease agreement indicating, which I had highlighted here, that's where it stands now. It must have at least 30 days remaining on it. That would take care of any people that are long-term renters, but they may not have anything in their name. You see what I'm saying? But like what you're saying, if they're staying through the winter, they shouldn't be able to qualify for a residential decal.
I agree. I agree. But the long-term renter, if somebody's living here, their vehicle should be registered here.
You would think so,
No, no, it should be by
It
law,
should be.
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
by
So
law.
why wouldn't we require the South Carolina registration? If you're applying for a residential parking permit, that means you're a resident, and if you're a resident, your vehicle should be listed where you live, right, chief?
Sir? Well, not, if we're talking about part-timers, people that own property here,
No, we're
No,
talking
he's
about
talking
runners.
about, he's talking about somebody who lives here for 12
Oh,
months.
then, yeah, they should.
12-month lease,
right, yeah,
or 24-month, or whatever the lease term
Yeah.
is.
And for the other folks that come in from North Carolina, but they are 6%ers and they have a place here, they would have a listing with the tax office that they actually own the property.
yeah, they have to show two proofs, two separate forms of proof,
And those folks would only get one parking.
they're only valid one, right?
If they don't rent.
If they don't win.
If they don't
Right, if they don't
have a
rent.
business license, short-term rent.
I just have a suggestion, just to strengthen this a little, but it's up to you. Number one, okay, if you go to the second sentence, you could flip it. To establish ownership of any vehicle for which a parking decal is being applied for, the current South Carolina Department of Vehicles registration shall be required, period, number one. Number two, you would separate that and go the next sentence. Vehicles registered, blah, blah, blah. It's just a way to make it a stronger statement.
If that's, which I think it's saying the same thing, essentially, but if you want to,
It's
wanna
just,
change
that
the word, it
I'm,
is.
I'm suggesting it because it's my way of front loading and then, but that's what I
I have
do.
no problem with that.
Just, you have to make a motion when we,
One time,
so you just change the numbers, 1, 2, and 3.
yep, and boom, boom, boom.
You're not really taking anything out of adding it, you just put it in just separate lines.
Thank you.
So you wanna make it a 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And just flip,
Not really changing the wording, just changing
Yeah.
the order.
just flip.
Anybody else?
At the bottom of page 5, a lease agreement indicating the term of lease which must have more than 30 days remaining. I think that should be a higher amount, so that
That's what I was saying.
you can't get it in the 11th month of your 1 year,
So, what would you suggest?
90 days.
Just, okay, 90, well, you have to do the same thing, make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I can agree with that.
that kinda goes along with everything else on 90 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we had discussed this within our last meeting as well, and it's now in A1 on page 5. Second sentence, vehicles registered to spouse or minor child. I had previously suggested, again, I introduced this as a motion at the appropriate time, a family member residing with to accommodate adult children, siblings, parents. The nuclear family is not what it once was. We have many different circumstances of people on the island. So if someone's a resident, 12 months per year, has ownership of the house, if it's an elderly woman, for instance, and she has her younger sister living with her, I think both people in that household should qualify for a parking pass, as an example.
You know, all you gotta do is make a motion.
Yep. I just, it wasn't sure if there's any discussion.
And they only get 2 per household, so everybody needs to understand that. At 19 or 312 West Indian, you get 2 tickets here. So I get 1 for a vehicle and 1 for a low-speed vehicle. You don't get 2 for a car and 1 for a low-speed vehicle.
Correct, but you could have 2 cars.
Yeah, you can have 2 cars, or 2 trucks, or 2 low-speed vehicles, or whatever. You just get 2 tickets, 2 passes.
Do you want to require any proof that the younger sister lives with her?
Yes.
Okay. So will you require the younger sister's information down here, in that scenario?
Same qualifications or tests.
Yeah, so we would still require that now.
So you still would require 2 separate registrations, like
Yeah.
1 for my car and 1 for my truck, or 1 for my truck and 1 for my low-speed vehicle.
Right.
So you still have to show
But
2
when she
registrations.
brings in her younger sister's car registration and says, oh, this car belongs to my younger sister who lives with me, she'll have to prove that the younger sister lives with her, not in North Charleston.
Right.
Correct.
Well, again, the younger sister's vehicle will be registered to Folly Beach if she lives here. If it's registered North Charleston, then she either has an improperly registered vehicle or she doesn't live here. Right?
Yeah, the DMV only allows you 10 days if you're in-state, moving from, let's say, North Charleston to Folly Beach. You have 10 days. It's free to do. You can log in. It's not going to cost you anything. It's 45 days if you're coming from out of state. The reason I kind of raised my hand is does it bring up a conflict of if, let's say, the mayor and I live together and he comes, let's say, in January and gets his parking passes for his car and his LSV, and then I come 2 months later and I have my registration and I have my proof of living there, are you now going to issue two to me? So that would be a full total, or do you track it by address?
By address.
Yeah, and it's specified as such in the document by address.
Unless one is physically turned into you.
Right.
And then that would clear it up.
I'm going to say a family member residing with.
Okay.
Any others?
So for full-time residents, y'all want the registration, as it should be legally anyway, to be registered in Folly Beach.
Absolutely. So if I show up and say I live here and my registration says I live in North Charleston, then as far as you're concerned, I live in North Charleston.
Even if they provide two proofs.
But you should be using the registration as one of the proofs.
Okay.
I mean, you know, when I show up with a registration, it shouldn't say somewhere else, and then I say, oh, I'm living here, and here's my light bill. I should have already had my driver's license and my registration for my vehicle changed.
So would rewrite that section to say must, for the proof of residency section, to say must have a registration to Folly Beach and one of the other 5 following things?
I would think so.
Yeah, but the South Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles registration with a Folly Beach address.
Like, that's required for everybody, then they can choose from this list for their second proof of residency?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea is that residents are paying taxes that include property taxes on that vehicle. And if it's listed to North Charleston's getting the benefit of those property taxes. And we're not, so. Like residents are paying for the parking decal in other ways.
Well, it says it right here that the current South Carolina Department of Vehicle Registration shall be required to establish ownership of any vehicle.
That's to establish ownership, not residency.
Well, how about ownership and
Yeah, so
So that would go into C.
yeah, so down in residency, we'll say that to establish residency, you have to provide a SCMDMV registration and one of the following. Instead of just letting the DMV be one of the options, it's a required option plus one of the other things.
Making C6 mandatory, and then 1 through 5 you get options.
Correct.
Jared, is this gonna be a big push to get people to understand that when they come?
Not the registration part.
Okay,
We've been requiring that since about February, just as kind of like a policy change.
okay,
The registered to Folly Beach will be an issue for a handful of people, just because they have it registered to their business, which may be downtown, which may be North Charleston. We haven't been requiring it to show residency, but rather just ownership. So as long as it had their name on it, then they were good, because it showed it was their personal vehicle.
right, okay. So, is that gonna be a problem for people if their truck is registered? So what you're saying, if your truck is registered through your business, which is located in North Charleston, but you live out here, then,
That's when you're gonna run into a little bit of an issue, yeah.
well, you can make them proof otherwise.
And that's what we do.
Show me your driver's license.
right, okay, or maybe a utility bill or something, like.
That's what we're doing this year, yeah.
Right, be ready to show the third if you have, your car is registered elsewhere because of your business or something.
Right.
Okay. And that's not, so that's not new, really, as far as being prepared to show a utility bill, driver's license and all that.
But it could be if we're requiring it to have a Folly Beach address, like SIG
Do you wanna put a clause in there to say that there's a business exemption? Like, if this is a company vehicle, then you need to show 2 from the list and you get an exemption from the registration clause.
That would close it, right? Like, that would
I think so.
kind of,
You'd have to show that it's a company and not
right, it's not,
Mary Beth.
right, okay. So how do
It's registered to a company, yeah.
if it's registered to a company,
So it would just have to be worded in the C paragraph somehow in the motion in the meeting.
in the C paragraph, okay.
So we're already going to amend it to say proof of residency must be a DMV vehicle registration showing a Folly Beach address unless the vehicle is registered to a business, which then you must show 2 of the following, everyone else must show 1 additional.
And just given the length of that particular amendment, and since we don't really need this in place until January, would be okay if we work these amendments into a draft, bring back y'all for first reading in November, so we don't have to.
I think that's probably.
Yeah, that's probably cleaner.
I don't have a problem not issuing residential parking passes to businesses that aren't registered here in Folly Beach. Again, the vehicle taxes are benefiting North Charleston or wherever that business is, not Folly Beach. And if we allow that, then you could have people that usurp the whole purpose of this and have a friend of theirs who has a business and says, how are you gonna prove proof of ownership of the business?
That's a good point.
I agree.
Again, it all comes down to me is, you're paying taxes here, that's why we give you a free sticker.
Right.
And if you have it listed somewhere else, we're not getting the benefit of those taxes, therefore you don't get the benefit of the sticker.
I agree.
Because that would go somewhere else, right?
But I think a lot of people may have their cars registered to their business just as,
Tax write-off.
Tax
right.
Let's be upfront about it.
Right. Right. So,
So-
and that's their personal car that they use for everything.
Well, but I'm kind of like, I'm like Bill, I don't have any problem saying if it's registered to your business and your business is paying business license fees here in Folly Beach and your business is paying business license fees in North Charleston and your car taxes is going to North Charleston, then get your parking pass from North Charleston. Because see, we would not only get, if their business was registered here in Folly Beach, like mine, we would not only get taxes from the car, but we get business license fees and all the other things that go with it.
Yeah, and I mean, and like Jared said, it's a handful of people, but I'm sure a lot of people would love to have their business here, but people work all over now, and I don't know if there's a way to, so that there are no loopholes and somebody can't game the system, which is kind of how we're here anyway.
Yeah, you're already gaming the system a little bit, a lot of times with the business vehicles being registered to a business, and it's your personal vehicle and you're using it for everything. I mean, it's kind of like, it's in the tax. So you're gaining from that car already. We're not getting the taxes for it,
Right.
and you're already getting a perk from that car already, so take your perk that you're getting and thank you
So
very
say
much.
like another family member in their household has their Folly Beach car registration. They could get 2, one for the golf cart, one for their car, but not for the other
But not
car.
for that car that's
Right.
registered to the company.
Okay.
And with that, we probably wouldn't have to come back next month. Are we on the list for that? Just the other little ones, I don't think it changes it that much. What do you think, Joe?
Say that again.
I just said with the other little changes that we were talking about, minor changes, I don't think it changes it too much. You have to come back next month to you.
No, it's
So no business exemption, but doing the
Right.
family member residing with 90 days and then still requiring a DMV registration as a must be.
I mean, we wouldn't do the final reading
No,
That'd be
just
next
the
one.
first one.
of this. Okay.
Flipping the sentences, making it 3.
Okay, anybody else? Well, congratulations, you get a break,
Oh, wow.
a long break.
Okay, I'm gonna show you this, if this ever happens to you, this is amazing. If you break down, like I had, literally,
Just in case, give Wes like 1 minute to turn off the